Hi, and welcome to On the Move. I'm Jasmine Dymond, and today we are going to be leaving Ottawa and going to Montreal. With me is Ethan Chase.
Hi.
Hi. So you're not in Canada currently.
No, I
Where?
come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. I'm currently in Colombia, Medellin.
Where?
Yeah.
I wish I was in Colombia right now, but it's hot enough in Ottawa, so I think.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be going from a hot place to another hot place, right? So
Definitely. I'll stick to being a snowbird and leave when it's cold here. Hey, so today we're going to talk about sex work, and we're going to talk about the sex work you're in. So I guess why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about the type of sex work you do.
I started doing sex work at the age of 14. It wasn't like full-on escorting or anything like that, but I started exchanging services of sex for things, computer parts, video game systems, that sort of thing. So it kind of evolved from there. By the time I was 17 years old, so at first it was just more to get things, but when I was 17, I was doing a bit more survival sex work. So doing some sex work on the street, and then that lasted for a couple of months, and then I met someone and stopped doing sex work for a couple of years. During that relationship, things got a little out of hand, and I was also using a lot of drugs, and ended up migrating back to survival sex work from the age of, I would say, 19 till I was about 26 years old. So I did survival sex work until I was 26. I ended up having a run-in with the law in regards to my addictions and substance use, and ended up being in a rehabilitative process, and kept only one of my closest male friends that was supporting me through sex work, and he stuck by me till this day, and helped me through that process. So my sex work ended up having me end up being with a person who took me under his wing and basically saved my life. And I'm forever grateful to this person. So after my recovery process and having did some time in prison, during the time I was in prison, I did not do any sex work. I didn't have sex at all. I needed to redefine what sex was for me because I was a heavy crystal meth user, and my addiction was really deeply associated to sex, and I needed to figure that out. So I went through a period of not doing very much sex work, not having sex at all, period, for a few years. And as soon as I was released from prison, going against the rules of the dotted, small print rules that were not in my conditions I signed. I wasn't breaking any direct conditions, but the fact that I was still using sex work was problematic. But I still migrated back to doing sex work, but this time it was different. I had fresh perspectives in my mind. I had found a sex drive, firstly. It would have been impossible to do the sex work without the sex drive, which took quite a long time for that to develop, but it did finally develop. And I never finished my education. I never finished, at that point, I had never finished high school. I had just done sex work most of my life. And it's always been like a source of power for me in terms of being able to survive without the education that I need to thrive in our society. So for me, it was the most important tool to my life. Like I said, because of it, it saved me. I feel like it saved me. And I still do sex work to this day. Like I said, I came back into it with fresh perspectives. I'm also a person living with HIV, which is something I sort of left out from the beginning, but I became diagnosed with HIV at 21 years old, which is really young at the beginning. And back then, this is going back 15 years ago, it was a different thing. Like, things have progressed a lot with medical science and what we know about HIV, which is amazing. And I hope we learn more and more and things get better in terms of treatments and more accessibility for the world. But it really, for me, like, HIV was also a big hurdle to pass and go through in terms of doing sex. In terms of doing sex work too, right? Pardon?
I was gonna say it's a lot to put on someone, dealing with the new status at a young age. I can't imagine having to hold on to that much weight. And as much as I'm a sex worker and stuff, when sex is a big part of your income, and when sex is a big part of your power, and when sex is a big part of like what appears to be everything going on in your life, to carry on having such a huge responsibility like your status and being open about it, but then also carrying the burden of knowing that you'll forever have to tell somebody, you will forever have to have that weighing on you because it's so stigmatized. And I couldn't imagine being that young, and I've always been afraid of it until I was educated a little bit more on how to deal with when someone tells you their status, what it really means to have a status, and what it means to carry the weight because other people are uneducated. There's a huge separation on education when it comes to sexual health in general. I find with a lot of people, a lot of the clients that I've dealt with in the past, everyone has their scares. Everyone gets those calls where you got to go in and check things out and get tested and stuff. So there's no shame in my game. I've had those calls, and I've had to make those calls because, well, I'm a man of my word. I think it's important to relay that message and let people know, like, hey, something came up. I got a phone call from someone that that kept themselves anonymous and stuff, but hey, you need to go in and get looked at. I haven't gotten checked yet, but you should go anyway. And then they lose it because they don't know any better and they were never properly educated. And for something as treatable as, let's say, gonorrhea and chlamydia, which are the most predominant STIs that people are going to get, that in itself carries enough weight. I couldn't imagine something that's irreversible like HIV that has such a high stigma attached to it. I couldn't imagine being 21, because when I was 21 doing the things I was doing, that would have been the nail in my coffin at the time, because I wasn't educated enough on it, and I wasn't prepared. I was too young. I was having too much fun, and it was at that too height of at that time for me to be even worried, let alone thinking about HIV. You talked a little bit about, when you got started, how long you've been doing it. So you've been in the industry for a while, and you've touched into a lot of different aspects of the industry. You're in and out of different types of sex work. I guess we've kind of talked on a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I didn't talk about all of
a little bit more on services and things like that.
Yeah, I could just maybe add a little something, because I didn't mention that I was also I've done escorting. Escorting has always been my main source of income, but I did also dabble in stripping. I did that for a year. I did not like the job. For me, it felt like like I wasn't providing a service. The goal was to entice and to kind of feel like you're manipulating the person into their fantasy, but not really achieving that fantasy for that person. So I always felt like it was not a job for me, and that's why I migrated to full-time escorting, because it just didn't work with my personality. But I also now do full-time adult videos. It's like my main source of income, and it has given me a lot more freedom, a lot more opportunity. So I do studio videos for different various companies. I'm not signed exclusive for anyone. And I also do OnlyFans and fan site videos, where I create my own content with the people that I choose to work with, who agree to work with me. So that's where it's sort of migrated now, and I still do the escorting. I'll do that as long as I can do it.
Amen. Well, it's a good thing that we've created TOMQ then, because at the end of the day, I knew from experience that finding services and finding reliable services was hard enough as it is. But then being able to know that I can actually look for those services, find them, and then find them in English. So one of the most important things when we created TOMQ was that when you go on the website and you click on the city that you were entering in, that you can translate everything that's on that website. Now, everything that's on that website are not stigma related. The people that work in these organizations are not stigmatized by sex work. So you're already safer walking into those places. But walking up to those places, knowing exactly what they're going to be able to do for you is like key. Because I don't know how many times I was in Montreal, needed my paperwork, and ended up just going to the hospital because I didn't know where the clinics were. I didn't know which ones were sex positive, let alone sex work positive. So that was number one for me, was like, you know what, if we're gonna do a resource site that's based in 4 of Canada's major cities, we have to be able to accommodate. And that goes both ways, right? We can't just accommodate the English, and we can't just accommodate the French-speaking people. We need to be able to have something where we can all use the same resource and find the exact same services that we already know and trust. Honestly, I've kind of done the same thing when it came to like my career choices in the industry, where I tried stripping. I did that for I want to say I did that for at least a year. It may not have been a full year, but it was fun in the sense that like I'm a performer. I like being on stage. I can go on stage and not, freeze like I used to when I was a kid. I couldn't do a class speech. I couldn't do any of that. But get me on stage, dress up as a woman or naked, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I kind of dabbled into that a little bit. But you're right when you said you have that one-on-one experience with the clients, but you're not giving them the full thing. It's a tease, and that was hard to do, because at the end of the day, it's like you end up making friends. I still have friends that are clients that used to go to the club, and I still know them and I still talk to them, So for me, it was a great way for me to get personal with people, maybe get potential clients for like after the club or whatever, but I still escorted. I was still doing, and actually, you know what? Doing videos got me into doing dancing, because there weren't enough videos at the time for me to go up every weekend and get a new video.
Right.
I wasn't that hot, So I had to go up on the weekend. If I had a gig, I had a gig. And then, I got introduced to the club life and started dancing. And then I did go-going as well. And I was bartending. So I was in the club scene already, but then now I was able to dance and strip and do what I got to do and hustle even harder, right?
Yeah.
And I love the hustle. I love hustling. It was so much fun to be like, I'm here to make money, and there's a way for me to make money without actually being like employed by somebody. I get to be my own boss. So it's actually really cool that you kind of dabbled in and out of like the same industry that I did, because you have like an interesting perspective that a lot of people don't even understand. It's a completely different world when you're on stage and backstage than it is when you are on set with directors and a camera crew.
Oh yeah.
And then you're now at home in the comfort of your own home with a stranger walking in the door, where you now get a one-on-one with these people, and it could go either way. But
Yeah.
to be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, at least in my in my life, it's always been the best time for me to be an escort, because being one-on-one with somebody means that I get to actually be personable. I can give that boyfriend experience that they might be looking for, you know? And I couldn't do that as a stripper, and I sure as hell couldn't even meet them doing porn. So it almost opened the gates for me to make more and more money trying to figure my way out through the industry. And I feel like you actually kind of did the same thing, where even though there were roadblocks, whether it be, you know, going into prison to get that reflection time to figure out what sex means to you, because I feel like I had the same thing. I had those moments of times where I had to take breaks from certain parts of the industry, and now I had time to reflect and go, okay, well, how do I want to make money? How do I want to do this? And how do I want to be effective doing this? Because being a sex worker isn't about just being a and making money for yourself.
No.
Having clients that you can actually call on when you need help is actually amazing. But also being able to have those friendships where it goes beyond sex work, where you actually get, I guess people can call them sugar daddies. They're not sugar daddies to me, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to be called sugar daddies either. But to have those relationships with those clients makes it, I don't know, it makes work a little bit better. It makes work feel better about going to your work, you know? Otherwise, you're just sleeping with people that you don't want to sleep with, and they only want to sleep with you, so that you end up feeling like crap, you know? You're almost fetishized at that point, and you're like, I don't need this.
Yeah, you know, you touched on some really important points. So I always felt the same in terms of escorting. For me, it was a way to make, if there was mutual respect on both sides, it could be one of the most beautiful experiences, because I feel like I am helping this person, and they are there. It's an exchange. It's an exchange with respect. There can be so much love and compassion. There can be so much connection, and I feel like I am providing this person that experience that he may never be able to achieve in any other situation. But to me, for me, it's important for them to be happy, and in terms of like being able to realize that, because that is the service I offer. It's more than just it's like you said, I don't want to be fetishized. I want to provide love, care, compassion, connection with the person that I'm with. And I really believe that. And in my mind, I've done way more good to people than the opposite. Like I can say that 99 to 95% of my interactions through escorting have all been positive. I've had one or two bad experiences.
Honestly, I can agree with that 100%. I feel like the more you can connect with your clients, the more you're there for them and to have a meaningful experience versus just selling you home. You can actually do a lot of good, and it does a lot more good for you to be able to know that you're doing a good job for somebody and that you're actually touching someone else, where you're not just touching someone else and they're not just touching you. They're actually touching a piece of you, because they come from a common ground of understanding as to what it is that you're both there for and why you're both there in the first place. So I think that's a really good way. And you know what? I think us talking about this is a really good way to destigmatize a lot of what's going on, because we're not just a bunch of street walking hussies that are just trying to make $1 so we can survive. Yes, there is survival sex work.
Yeah.
Yes, there are strippers. Yes, there are porn stars. Yes, there are escorts. Yes, there are go-go dancers. Yes, there are underwear models. You're all in the same category. We're all under the same umbrella. And at the end of the day, what we all do as sex workers might look a little bit different to each other. But at the end of the day, what we want as workers is the same thing that everyone else that has another industry of jobs wants too. We all want the same respect. We all want the same security, we want the same rights as everyone else, right? There's no reason for it to be legal to do what we do in this country, and yet there's still criminalization within the industry. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
If what we're doing is asking for real work, and what we do is real work, then we should all be treated the exact same way as everyone else that have a basic other job, being a plumber, being an electrician, cutting hair, being a makeup artist, working in construction, working in the government, being a politician. If anything, I have worked with every single one of those industries within this one industry. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, where should the stigma lie? It shouldn't even be there, because at the end of the day, I see politicians, all of you people in Parliament Hill, I can see you, and I do see you. And the same thing with construction workers, the same thing with hairstylists, the same thing with makeup artists. They're all clients. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing, right?
Exactly. We're providing a service, and we're doing good to the world. We're making it a happier place. I know I'm making the world a happier place doing what I do. Right. And I stick by that 100%.
I think it's really, really, really great that you shared your story with us. And I just want to thank you again, especially because you're all the way up in Colombia and we managed to get this through. So thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure. And I really want to thank you for inviting me and having me share on this platform. I really appreciate it.